The sterile smell of disinfectant still clung to my clothes. 3 hours. It had only been 3 hours since we lowered Maya's tiny casket into the ground, and already my phone was vibrating against my thigh. I didn't want to look. I couldn't look. But when Dr. Sarah Kim's name flashed across the screen for the third time, something cold twisted in my stomach. I stepped away from the kitchen where my mother was arranging yet another tray of untouched food. The house was full of people I barely recognized, all wearing the same practiced expression of sympathy. My husband Chris was in the living room, his face buried in his hands, surrounded by his brothers. The perfect grieving father. I answered in the hallway, my voice barely a whisper. Dr. Kim, I can't do this right now. Amara. Her voice was urgent, clipped. Not the gentle bedside manner she'd used with Maya for the past 18 months. You need to come to my office, right now. And Amara, don't tell Chris. Don't tell anyone where you're going. My heart stopped. What? Why would you? Please. Just trust me. I'll explain everything when you get here, but I need you to come alone. Park in the back lot. Use the side entrance. The code is 7823. The line went dead. I stood there, staring at my phone, my mind racing. Maya had died 4 days ago. The funeral was this morning. What could Dr. Kim possibly need to tell me now that required this level of secrecy? And why couldn't Chris know? I glanced back at the living room. Chris hadn't moved. My mother was heading toward me with another tissue box, her eyes swollen. I made a decision. Mom, I need to run out for a bit. Please don't just tell people I needed air. Honey, you shouldn't be alone right now. I'll be fine. I just need 20 minutes. I grabbed my keys and slipped out the side door before anyone could stop me. The February wind hit my face like a slap. I was still wearing my funeral dress, black silk that Maya had said made me look like a princess last time she was well enough to notice what I wore. The drive to Dr. Kim's office took 15 minutes. I'd made this trip dozens of times over the past year and a half. Every Tuesday and Thursday for chemotherapy, every Friday for blood work, emergency visits in the middle of the night when Maya's fever spiked or she couldn't stop vomiting. Chris had been there for most of them, my devoted husband, holding Maya's hand while poison dripped into her veins, pretending it would save her. I parked in the back lot as instructed. The building was dark except for a single light on the 3rd floor. Dr. Kim's office. I punched in the code at the side entrance, my hands shaking so badly it took 3 tries. The stairwell was empty and silent. My heels echoed against the concrete. When I reached the 3rd floor, Dr. Kim was waiting in her doorway, her usually neat appearance disheveled. Her gray hair had escaped its bun, and there were dark circles under her eyes I'd never seen before. Thank God you came. She pulled me inside and locked the door behind us. Sit down. You're going to need to sit down. Dr. Kim, what is going on? Maya, she's gone. The funeral was this morning. Why am I here? She moved to her desk and opened a locked drawer, pulling out a thick folder. Her hands were trembling. 2 weeks before Maya died, I ran some additional tests. Her symptoms weren't matching the progression of her leukemia. The seizures, the nerve damage, the way her organs were failing, none of it fit. I felt my throat tighten. What are you saying? I sent samples to a private lab. Someone I trust completely, someone outside this hospital's network. She opened the folder and spread several documents across her desk. Charts, lab results, images I couldn't decipher. Amara, the levels of thallium in Maya's system were astronomical. Thallium is a poison. The word came out flat. Numb. Dr. Kim nodded, her eyes filling with tears. A very specific poison. Tasteless, odorless, nearly undetectable unless you know to look for it. It causes all the symptoms Maya had. The hair loss, the neurological damage, the organ failure. We attributed everything to the cancer and the chemotherapy. But she paused, her voice breaking. Someone was poisoning your daughter, Amara, for months, and I didn't catch it until it was too late. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of her desk, trying to breathe. No, that can't be. I have the proof right here. The lab results, the timeline of symptoms versus treatment. Maya didn't die from leukemia. She was murdered. The word hung in the air between us like smoke. Murdered. My 6-year-old daughter. My baby, who loved butterflies and strawberry ice cream and insisted on wearing her purple tutu over her clothes even during chemo. Someone had killed her. Who? The question came out as a growl. Who would do this to her? Dr. Kim's face crumpled. I don't know for certain, but Amara, you need to think about who had access to Maya. Who could have been giving her something regularly without raising suspicion? My mind was spinning. Me? No. Impossible. My mother? She'd helped sometimes, but she lived in Florida, only visited twice during Maya's treatment. Chris's family? His mother had come by once or twice, but think about medications, Dr. Kim pressed. Who managed Maya's pill schedule at home? The floor dropped out from under me. Chris. Chris had taken over all of Maya's medications 3 months ago. He'd said I was too stressed, making mistakes with the timing. He'd been so careful, so attentive. Every morning, he'd crush her pills and mix them into her favorite yogurt. Every night, he'd bring her the liquid supplements in her special purple cup. I need to see something. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and opened our home security app. We'd installed cameras 6 months ago after Maya kept trying to get out of bed when she wasn't supposed to. I scrolled back through the footage, my heart hammering. There, February 2nd, 6:47 a.m. Chris in the kitchen, preparing Maya's morning medications. But before adding them to the yogurt, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small amber bottle. He tapped something white and powdery into the mixture, stirred it carefully, then returned the bottle to his pocket. I felt vomit rising in my throat. Oh my God. Dr. Kim came around the desk to look at my phone. Her face went white. Is that my husband? I could barely form the words. That's my husband poisoning our daughter. I scrolled further back. January 15th, same routine. December 28th, same bottle, same motion. November 3rd, October 19th. On and on. Every single morning, Chris had been adding something to Maya's food. Why? I whispered. Why would he do this? Dr. Kim returned to her desk and pulled out another document. I did some research after I got the lab results back. Your daughter was the beneficiary of a substantial life insurance policy, $2 million. And she hesitated. There was also the college fund, wasn't there? The one your father set up before he died? The trust fund. $500,000, untouchable until Maya turned 18. Unless she died before then, in which case it reverted to her legal guardians. Chris has been asking about that money, I said slowly, memories clicking into place like puzzle pieces. Last year, he wanted to borrow against it for some business investment. I said no. It was Maya's future. A sob caught in my throat. I thought I was protecting her future. There's more. Dr. Kim's voice was gentle now, like she was breaking terrible news all over again. I checked with the insurance company. The policy was increased from $500,000 to $2 million 8 months ago. Right before Maya's diagnosis. 8 months ago. Right after Chris's construction company lost its biggest contract. Right after he'd come home drunk 3 nights in a row, muttering about bankruptcy and losing everything. I thought about how insistent he'd been that I quit my job to stay home with Maya full-time. How he'd taken over all her medications, all her doctor's visits toward the end. How he'd cried at the funeral. His performance so convincing that people had been telling me all day how lucky I was to have such a devoted husband. I need to go home. I stood up, my legs barely holding me. I need to. No. Dr. Kim grabbed my arm. Amara, you can't go home. If he realizes, you know. He won't. I'll pretend everything is normal. But I need to get more evidence. If I go to the police with just this, it might not be enough. He's careful. He'll have destroyed that bottle by now. Dr. Kim looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. My brother is a private investigator. Let me call him. But please, be careful. If Chris suspects anything, he won't. I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I was ice. I've been performing for 3 hours already. What's a few more days? She made me promise to check in every morning and night. She gave me her brother's number. And then she hugged me, this woman who'd fought so hard to save my daughter, and whispered, I'm so sorry I didn't figure it out sooner. I drove home in a daze. The house was quieter now, most of the mourners gone. My mother was asleep on the couch. Chris was in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed in the dark. "Hey." His voice was soft, broken. "I was worried about you. Your mom said you needed air." I forced myself to go to him, to sit beside him, to let him put his arm around me. Every cell in my body screamed to pull away, to run, to scratch his eyes out. Instead, I leaned into him. "I just drove around for a bit," I said. "Needed to clear my head." "I know, baby. I know." He kissed the top of my head. "We're going to get through this together, I promise." "Liar. Murderer. Monster." "I love you," I said, and felt a piece of my soul die. "I love you too." That night, I lay awake beside him, listening to him breathe. The man I'd married 7 years ago. The man who'd held my hand during labor and cried when Maya was born. The man who'd read her bedtime stories and taught her to ride a bike and promised he'd always protect her. The man who'd slowly poisoned her to death for money. I must have slept eventually because I woke to sunlight streaming through the curtains and Chris already gone. I found a note on the kitchen counter. Went to handle some insurance paperwork. "Love you, C." Insurance paperwork. Of course. He was probably already planning how to spend our dead daughter's blood money. I waited until I heard his truck pull out of the driveway. Then I moved. I tore through his closet, his drawers, his office. Nothing. He'd been too careful. Then I remembered his gym bag. He kept it in his truck, but he'd mentioned yesterday that he needed to wash his workout clothes. I found the bag in the laundry room. Buried at the bottom, wrapped in a sock, was a small amber bottle. No label. I held it up to the light. Nearly empty now. Just a few grains of white powder left inside. I took photos from every angle, then carefully replaced everything exactly as I'd found it. My hands didn't shake once. I was becoming someone else, someone cold and methodical, someone who could do what needed to be done. Dr. Kim's brother, James, was at my house within an hour. "Retired detective," she'd said. He looked like someone who'd seen the worst of humanity and wasn't surprised anymore. "Show me what you've got," he said simply. I showed him everything. The security footage, the bottle, Dr. Kim's lab results. He watched the videos without expression, then sat back and rubbed his face. "This is solid," he said finally. "But we need more. We need his motive documented, financial records, maybe testimony from someone he might have confided in. And we need to be careful. Men who kill their own children, they have nothing left to lose." "What do I do?" "You act normal, you grieve, and you let me work behind the scenes. I'll pull his financial records, interview his friends and coworkers, build a timeline." "But Amara," he looked at me seriously, "this could take weeks, maybe months. Can you live with him that long? Can you pretend?" I thought about Maya's laugh, the way she'd wrapped her tiny arms around my neck and called me the best mommy in the whole world, the way she'd looked at me from her hospital bed 3 days before she died and whispered, "It's okay, Mama. I'm not scared." "I can do whatever it takes," I said. The next 3 weeks were the longest of my life. Every morning, Chris kissed me goodbye and told me he loved me. Every night, he held me while I cried, whispering comforting lies. And every moment in between, I was gathering evidence. I found his laptop password, Maya's birthday, the irony like acid in my throat. His search history was damning. Thallium detection in autopsies, insurance payout timeline, death of child, how long after death before life insurance pays out. I installed hidden cameras in every room. I recorded every conversation. I watched him on the phone with his brother Derek, laughing about buying a boat once all this settles down. James was thorough. He discovered Chris had been skimming from his business accounts for months, covering gambling debts. He'd taken out a loan from a dangerous man named Vincent Russo, someone who didn't accept excuses or late payments. Chris had been desperate enough to kill his own daughter. But James and I both knew we had to be smarter than just turning this over to the police. Chris had friends in the department. His uncle was a retired captain. There was a chance, however small, that evidence could disappear or be mishandled. "We need a confession," James said during one of our secret meetings. "Something so clear and undeniable that no one can ignore it." "How?" He thought for a moment. "What if he thought he was going to get away with it? What if he thought you were threatening to leave him, threatening to take Maya's insurance money?" People confess when they think they have nothing left to lose or when they're confident they've won. We planned it carefully. I would confront Chris, but not about the murder. About finding financial discrepancies. About the gambling, the debt. I'd threaten divorce, threaten to take everything. And James would be listening to every word from the surveillance equipment we'd planted throughout the house. The day came. I picked a Saturday when I knew Chris's brother Derek was out of town, when his mother was visiting his sister in Atlanta. I wanted him isolated. I'd spent the morning at Maya's grave. And that wasn't an act. I knelt in front of her headstone, Maya Grace, beloved daughter, 2018 to 2024, forever our butterfly, and I told her what I was about to do. When I got home, Chris was in the garage working on his truck. I took a deep breath and walked in. "We need to talk." He looked up, grease on his hands, wariness in his eyes. "About what?" "About the $50,000 missing from our joint account. About the credit cards you opened in my name. About the loan you took from Vincent Russo." I let my voice rise. "About all the lies, Chris." His face changed. The mask of the grieving father slipped just for a second, and I saw something cold underneath. "You've been going through my things. It's my money, too. My name on those accounts. And now I find out you've been hiding debt, gambling, borrowing from loan sharks." I was letting my real anger fuel the performance, just directing it at the wrong crime. "I want a divorce. I'm taking Maya's insurance money, and I'm leaving." "Like hell you are." He stepped toward me, and I saw his hands curl into fists. "That money is as much mine as yours. She was my daughter. She was mine, too." He was yelling now. "I took care of her. I was there every day, every treatment, every goddamn minute while you fell apart." "You're right. You were there every minute." I let the words hang. "Every single morning, bringing her breakfast." Something flickered across his face. Fear. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing. Just that you were very devoted, very hands-on with her care." We stared at each other. I could see him calculating, trying to figure out what I knew, what I was implying. "Look," he said finally, his voice shifting to that pleading tone he used when he wanted something. "We're both grieving. We're not thinking straight. Let's take a breath. We don't need to talk about money right now." "No. We're talking about it now. I contacted a lawyer yesterday. I want you out of this house by Monday." His jaw tightened. "You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking perfectly clearly for the first time in months." I turned to walk away, knowing this would push him. He grabbed my arm, hard. "You're not leaving me. You're not taking that money. Let go of me. Do you have any idea what I've sacrificed?" His grip tightened, his face inches from mine. "What I've done to keep us afloat?" "What you've done? You mean the gambling? The loans?" He stopped himself, but I could see the words clawing at his throat. He wanted to tell me, wanted to throw it in my face. "What, Chris? What have you done?" He let go of me suddenly and turned away, his hands shaking. "Nothing. Get out." I'd pushed too hard. He was shutting down. James had warned me this might happen. I softened my voice. "Chris, if you're in trouble, real trouble, you can tell me. Maybe we can fix it. But I need the truth." He laughed, a broken sound. "The truth? You want the truth?" "Yes." He turned back to face me, and the look in his eyes made my blood run cold. This was it. This was the moment. "The truth is, Maya was never going to make it," he said quietly. "The doctors gave her less than a year, even with treatment. She was suffering, Amara. Every day, in pain, losing her hair, vomiting, wasting away. I ended that suffering." My heart stopped. "What did you say?" "I ended it." His voice was calm now, matter of fact. "The thallium was quick, relatively painless. Better than the cancer. Better than watching her fade away over months. And yes, the insurance money helped. We needed it. I needed it. But I did her a favor, Amara. I gave her peace. I couldn't breathe." Hearing him say it out loud so casually, like he'd done nothing worse than put down a sick dog. "You murdered our daughter. I saved her from a worse death. And I saved us from bankruptcy." He stepped closer. "That money is going to give us a new start. We can move somewhere fresh, try again. Maybe have another baby in a few years." I slapped him. The crack echoed through the garage. He grabbed my wrist, his face darkening. "Don't touch me again. You killed her. You poisoned Maya." The words were pouring out now, every morning, in her food. "For months, I saw the footage, Chris. I saw you." His expression changed completely. The mask was gone. What stood in front of me was a stranger. "You saw nothing," he said slowly, "because if you did, you'd already be dead too." He pulled something from his pocket. A knife. Not large, but sharp. The same knife he used to cut boxes in the garage. My blood turned to ice. But I'd prepared for this. I'd known it might come to this. "James," I said clearly, looking directly at the small camera hidden in the tool rack behind Chris. "Now would be good." Chris spun around, confused. The garage door burst open. James and 2 uniformed police officers flooded in, guns drawn. "Drop the knife. Hands where we can see them." Everything happened fast. Chris tried to run, realized he was trapped, tried to fight. They had him on the ground in seconds. One officer read him his rights while another snapped handcuffs on his wrists. He was screaming at me, calling me names I won't repeat, saying I'd tricked him, trapped him. The officers dragged him away, still screaming. James came over to me. "You okay?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "We got everything. Full confession, the threat with the knife, combined with the evidence we already compiled, financial records, the bottle, doctor, Kim's testimony, the security footage he's done. He's going away for life. Life. My daughter's life. For his convenience and $2 million. The trial took 6 months. Chris pleaded not guilty, of course. His lawyer tried to paint me as an unstable, grieving mother who'd manufactured evidence. But the jury saw the videos. They heard the confession. They looked at Dr. Kim's lab results showing thallium levels that could only have come from deliberate, repeated poisoning. The prosecution brought in financial experts who showed Chris's desperate situation, his gambling debts, the loan from Russo, the timing of the insurance policy increase. They brought in his brother Derek, who admitted Chris had once joked about how convenient it would be if Maya just went peacefully. They even found his purchase history, an order for thallium sulfate from an online chemical supply company, shipped to a P.O. box he'd opened under a fake name. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: first-degree murder, insurance fraud, attempted assault on me. The judge gave him life without parole. Told him he was a monster who didn't deserve to breathe the same air as decent people. I sat in the courtroom and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just a vast, empty space where my daughter should have been. Dr. Kim was at the sentencing. She came up to me afterward, tears streaming down her face. "I should have caught it sooner. I should have—" "You saved me," I told her. "If you hadn't figured it out, if you hadn't called me that day, he might have done it again. To another child, another family. You stopped him." She hugged me tight. "I'm leaving the hospital. Starting a nonprofit for families dealing with childhood cancer. Maya's Fund, if you'll let me name it after her." "She'd like that," I whispered. I sold the house. Couldn't bear to live in the place where Chris had plotted my daughter's death. Couldn't sleep in the bed we'd shared while he was slowly killing her down the hall. I used some of the insurance money to fund Dr. Kim's nonprofit. The rest went into a scholarship for children who'd survived cancer, the Maya Grace Scholarship, for kids who made it when she didn't. I moved to Oregon, far from everyone and everything that reminded me of Chris. Started over in a small coastal town where nobody knew my story. I got a dog, a golden retriever I named Sunny. I volunteer at the local children's hospital, reading to the kids in the cancer ward. Some nights I dream about Maya. In the dreams, she's healthy. Her hair is long and dark. Her cheeks are pink. She's laughing, chasing butterflies through a field. She turns to me and says, "Look, Mama, I can fly." And then I wake up, and she's gone all over again. People ask me sometimes how I survived it, how I found the strength to take down my own husband. The truth is, I didn't find strength. I found rage. I found a burning need for justice that consumed everything else. And when it was over, when Chris was in prison and Maya's name was cleared of being just another cancer statistic, I found I was still here, still breathing, still living, even though the best part of me died with her. I visited Chris once in prison. 6 months after his sentencing, I needed to look him in the eye one more time. He looked smaller somehow. Prison had hollowed him out. When they brought him to the visiting room, his hands were shaking. "Why did you come?" he asked. "I wanted you to know something." I kept my voice steady. Maya knew. At the end, she told me one night that her special yogurt tasted funny, that it made her tummy hurt. She said, "Maybe Daddy should make it different." She was 6 years old and she knew something was wrong. His face crumpled. You don't get to look away from this. You don't get to pretend she died peacefully, not knowing." She knew, Chris. And she was scared. And she still told me she loved you when you said goodnight, because she was better than you could ever hope to be. I stood up to leave. "Amara," his voice broke. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I was desperate. I wasn't thinking clearly. Save it for God," I said, "because that's the only one who might listen. And honestly, I hope he doesn't." I walked out and never looked back. That was 4 years ago now. I'm 33. People tell me I should date, move on, find happiness. But how do you explain to someone on a first date that your husband murdered your daughter, that you trapped him, recorded his confession, watched him get dragged away in handcuffs? Some scars don't heal. Some losses don't get better with time. You just learn to carry them. I still have Maya's favorite purple tutu. It's in a box in my closet, along with her drawings and her favorite butterfly hair clips. Sometimes I take them out and remember the girl she was. The girl she was supposed to become. She'd be 10 now, 4th grade. She wanted to be a veterinarian, loved animals more than anything. I wonder what she'd look like, who her friends would be, what books she'd be reading. But Chris took all of that, every future moment, every possibility, for $2 million and his own cowardice. I hope prison is hell for him. I hope every day he wakes up and remembers what he did, what he destroyed, and I hope he lives a long, long life to suffer through it. As for me, I keep Maya alive the only way I can, through her scholarship, through Dr. Kim's nonprofit, through the stories I tell the children in the hospital ward about a brave little girl who loved butterflies and never stopped fighting. They ask me sometimes, those children, if she made it, if she got better. I tell them she did. In her own way, she became something beautiful, something that can't be touched by pain or fear or poison. She became a memory that nothing can take away. And on the days when the grief is too much, when I can't get out of bed, when I look at her grave and want to dig down into the earth and hold her one more time, I remember something. I got justice for her. I made sure her death mattered. I made sure Chris paid for what he did. It doesn't bring her back. Nothing will ever bring her back. But she didn't die for nothing. And her killer will never see freedom again. That's not closure. It's not healing. But it's something. It has to be something. Because it's all I have left.